So, what are some symptoms of low progesterone? And this really goes back to that tracking tool that I mentioned. Again, some things to be aware of, some things that maybe the doctor's not bringing up. But again, understanding them is so key so that we can connect the dots. Difficulty falling asleep when our thoughts and our brain and even physically we can't shut it down at night. That is a sign that again the progesterone is not there or in an adequate dose to support that time of day. There are other hormones too. Melatonin is another example that does dip as we're aging. So there's other things that may be going on, but your progesterone is that easy one that you can look at, especially if some of these other symptoms that I'm going to mention are also popping up. So it's one of those stacking things. If you're experiencing 2, 3, 4 of these symptoms, and that's a really good time to be asking your doctor and seeking help, bringing in progesterone. Okay, so again, difficulty falling asleep. Some problems that happen when we are low, frequent waking. Again, estrogen tends to be the driver of this, but again, when these things are not in a cohesive balance, estrogen and progesterone, this is when the wake ups can obviously occur as well. And we also lose urinary control, which is another big part of what's happening. So that might be waking us up at night too. So that's another key part. 2 to 4 a.m. wake ups, like I said. Some things too, mood symptoms. These are huge. This is really, like I was saying, when we are more worried, more irritable, more anxious about things that never used to make us feel unsettled. So tune into that. Give that all the honor and appreciation that it does need, because how you feel in any situation throughout the day or night is really, really important to be in tune with that. And our emotional sensitivity, again, we could be more emotional. We could be more reactive. It could be showing up in our relationships, what we consider normal demands, not only from our disease, but from our life and our schedules and our work schedules. But to know that that is something that we can handle and that we can put some action steps around. But when we get to the point where we are feeling even more burned out or burned out at all, those are really, really key signs. Again, paying attention to where you used to be and where you are now. Blood sugar connections. Okay, so again, the sleep disruption, that can be part of what's happening. We're getting alarmed with high or low blood sugar in the middle of the night. That's going to interrupt our sleep. Higher cortisol. And because progesterone does help us to manage stress, it also keeps the cortisol levels lower. And we know how that is going to impact blood sugar. So if we are more reactive, more worried, our cortisol is going to rise in accordance to that, because again, our body wants to protect us. It wants to keep us safe. So unfortunately, it can dump glucose in response to that. So blood sugar can be harder to manage if this is becoming, again, a repetitive thing. So we can become more insulin resistant. And then fasting glucose, again, if we have a bad night's sleep, if we are not restfully sleeping in a calm state, reaching those deep cycles of sleep that are, again, going to set us up for success, we're going to show up with higher blood sugar in the morning. And you know what that does for the rest of the day. So this can be that vicious cycle that if we're not aware of what's happening, why it's happening, and what we can do, and some things we can do differently, then the cycle's going to get worse and it's going to compound. And that just leads to so much that we women do not want to have to carry with us. Insulin-dependent diabetes is tough enough. We want to be able to bring in all the help we can get. And the first step is really understanding what's changed and why and what your next steps are.